Good afternoon and welcome to We Believe Digital Studios in downtown Jackson for the twice weekly We Believe Digital News Break show. So glad you're here joining us. Got another hot one coming here today, a lot of humidity. And this is not just going on in Jackson, but lots of parts of the country really suffering under a heat wave and all. So we got to be mindful of that, take good care of ourselves. We're going to flip things around a little bit today and start more on the local level and then move our way out. And we just want to let people know I caught a story from WLPT this morning reminding everybody that there's going to be the annual Beautification Day coming up on Friday, July 28th for Jackson Public Schools. That's going to be from 7 in the morning till 12 in the afternoon. JPS asking for volunteers to help teachers prepare their learning spaces and school grounds for the upcoming year. Volunteers are going to be asked to sign in to help enhance school entrances, clean up the campuses, and help teachers set up their classrooms. Go to WLBT for details and a sign-up sheet. If you can only give an hour, that's an hour that's going to help us all out. Again, that's 16 days from now on July 28th. You can sign up for a slot at one of the schools and help us get ready for the new school year. I believe the new school year starts on August 8th. Also, just wanted to review as yesterday the window for registering to vote came to a close, and so just wanted to focus on the list of candidates, and we'll cover other different races as we move along through these next months. But coming up now for the supervisors race, just want to review that at the local level. Hinds County supervisors, 5 different districts, and here's who's running. In District 1, you have Robert Graham as the incumbent. And he has challengers in Eva Chrysler, a Democrat also, and Luigi Hodge, another Democrat, both challenging Mr. Robert Graham for District 1 supervisor. District 2, the incumbent is David Archie, and Anthony B. Smith, a Democrat, and Daryl McWhirter, an independent, are challenging David Archie for District 2 supervisor. District 3 incumbent is Credell Calhoun, and he's facing Antonio Porter and Deborah Butler Dixon, both Democrats, in that race for District 3 supervisor. District 4 has got a lot more people running. The incumbent is Vern Gavin, a Democrat, Robert E. Amos, Wanda Evers, Eamon D. Thompson Sr., James Lott III, and Craig Porter, all Democrats, are running for that seat, in addition to Allison Clower Lauderdale, a Republican. So 6 different candidates up against Vern Gavin for District 4 supervisor seat. And District 5, the list is even longer. The incumbent is Bobby Bobcat McGowan, a Democrat, and he has Robert A. Wall, Ashley Floyd, Freddie Schuler, Malcolm Johnson, Dexter Hutton, Daryl Dwayne Harper, Joseph Joe Smith, all Democrats, seeking that District 5 supervisor spot, and also 2 independents, Chris Biscuit Woodard and Jonathan Pond, both independents, seeking that District 5 seat. So just want to let you know the names of those people, and those people out there working hard and trying to get some recognition and putting up signs and going to community events and so forth. So let's be sure we get loaded up with the right information ahead of time and do some research on these folks and decide who you're going to cast your ballot for in your respective district. Last Friday, District Court Judge Wingate, Henry Wingate, held a status hearing and city officials showed up, with concerns about the transparency level of the third-party water and now sewer administrator, Ted Henifin, saying that he's not being as transparent as they would like to see. The hearing was called by Wingate after City Attorney Katoria Martin reached out to him with the city's concerns. Martin had said that several community organizations were worried that not enough minority firms were receiving contracts, and the city should have a greater role in advising the third-party manager on hiring. So, and Henifin's response was that there have been a few, but there needs to be a whole lot more, referring to minority contracts. So as far as I know, there's been no ruling on that. It was an update hearing. Haven't really heard from the judge on that topic. Shifting over to broader Mississippi news, statewide news that affects the entire state. Today is another day that the Republican legislators and the top three leaders in the state, nobody's called for a hearing on this TANF ripoff. Under Republican leadership, minimum of 77, looks like the upper limit would be about $94 million stolen, misspent, embezzle, whichever where you want to use. I mean, it's a little bit of everything, but none of the Republicans are calling for a hearing on that. Can you imagine? So the Democrats have held 2 hearings. Just want to make you aware of that. Next story has to do with the psychiatric beds, their availability in our area here in Jackson, but this is rapidly impacting the whole state. It is impacting the whole state, but probably more so because University of Mississippi Medical Center has 33 psych beds, Merritt Health Center 77, but since July 4th, they've been on psychiatric diversion, where they're saying that those beds are full, and they have to find other places to divert those new patients to. St. Dominic's, as you recall, closed their behavioral health services in June. Very concerning. The only good news on the horizon is that Merritt Health will have a new facility opening in Jackson later this summer with 50 new psych beds, 20 adult, 20 children or adolescent, and 10 chemical dependency beds. So, here we are in the poorest state in the country. We have upwards of 35 to 40% poverty in Jackson itself, and 20% statewide, absolute minimum. And poverty has such impacts. It has tentacles that get into everything. And many, many times that leads to psychiatric troubles. So this is a really big deal. And we need to figure out a way to bootstrap more psychiatric beds, more community intervention, more public health initiatives, so that we can help our brothers and sisters that are struggling with psychiatric issues. Sometimes it just requires a brief intervention. Sometimes maybe a 2 or 3 day, what's referred to as a crisis stabilization period. And sometimes it requires much more than that. So that's very important. We need to keep an eye on it. This news is a little bit dated. It's over a year old at this point, but I was just reading a tweet over last weekend, and it caught my attention. Did a little homework on it, and want to share with you this sad news about this gap in mortgage approvals. So you better sit down for this one. From various sources, including the Hope, that's Hope Credit Union, the Hope Policy Institute, black borrowers demonstrating $150,000 in income were declined at a rate of 34% for mortgages. This is across the Deep South, but particularly in Mississippi and Tennessee. While white borrowers with between $31,000 and $50,000 of demonstrable income were declined at a rate of 21%. So one would have to ask, if people are able to demonstrate the income and put that on the table and put that on these forms, what is getting in the way? And we got to get to the bottom of that discrimination, and we got to follow up on it. I'm not sure what you can do for that. I decided yesterday to send Congressman Thompson a letter, sent it out last night to him. I'm guessing that he already knows about this, but maybe there's some ways that he can find ways to tighten up on this, or we can start calling these people out. You know, these mortgage lenders that are doing all these denials, maybe they need to be put on a ranking system, a grading system like the Better Business Bureau or something like that. And so people know up front of time, you know, not to go to these places. Last story on the or coming up on the end of the stories for the state of Mississippi specifically. Mississippi finished the fiscal year June 30th with a $700 million in surplus. You know, more than they expected from all the powers that be that are supposed to be able to estimate, you know, tax money and money that's coming in, and they do not do the best job of that, and consequently we find out, you know, 700 million extra at the end of the year. That's a preliminary report compiled or released by the staff of the Legislative Budget Committee, and that's according to Mississippi Today. And when you combine that 700 million surplus with the surplus that's come over the last 2 years before that, 3 years before that, pardon me, that translates to a $2.6 billion surplus over the last 4 years for Mississippi. So what will we be doing with that money? And what can we do to help the least of these? And what can we do to help employment for all people in Mississippi? We told you last week that State Representative Shake Taylor only been the chairman of the Democratic Party for a few days. Tyree Irving has been ousted, and Mr. Taylor's planning to use this transition period as the newly minted head of the organization to advocate for more resources in the cash-strapped Mississippi Democratic Party. He's 49 years old. He represents parts of Clay, Lowndes, and, oh boy, here we go, Otikbiba. I don't know what that, I can't pronounce that one. I'm going to need some help on that one. But he's a 49-year-old representative, been at it for a while, and he sees this as a critical time, and he's really hitting the ground running, so we just want to let you know that. And lastly, on the state level, you know, there were special programs in place for poor people and Medicaid recipients during the COVID, and that has now come to expire. And so the more than 29,000, this just for the first month now, more than 29,000 Mississippians lost Medicaid coverage at the end of June after the federal government ended the COVID-19 public health emergency, PHE. Those disenrolled accounted for 44% of those who were up for renewal. So almost half of those people that were up for renewal not getting to continue to receive the benefit of Medicaid services. The Mississippi Division of Medicaid reported the figures on Monday, saying in a press release that the total reflects the first month of eligibility renewals that have been initiated as part of a year-long federally mandated effort for state Medicaid programs to restore eligibility following the end of this public health emergency period. So really, really bad news for those folks. They were being held up by this federal program, which has now come to an end. So we'll stop there and dip out for a couple of commercials, and then we'll be right back with you.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back to Newsbreak. We Believe Digital Studios here in Jackson. So glad you're joining us today. We'd love to see you in the chat. We do have a call-in number, 1-800-492-5186. So many really terrific programs on this platform. Please visit our website at WeBelieveDigital.com and take a look. There's so many programs archived, so many videos for you to take a look at, all kinds of topic areas, from sports to religion, community interest, all kinds of programming. So please take a look when you have a minute. Okay, on the national level at the Essence Festival down in NOLA recently, just a week ago, Jill Scott was performing there, and she modified the lyrics to the national anthem at the Essence Festival. And my gosh, the internet is abuzz with feedback about the lyrics that she used, and I'm going to share those with you. And this comes from Newsweek, quote by Newsweek. And Jill Scott sang, "Oh, say can you see by the blood in the streets. This place doesn't smile on you, colored child. Whose blood built this land with sweat and their hands? But we'll die in this place and your memory erased. Oh, say does this truth hold any weight? This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves." So Miss Scott had indicated, reading in different sources, that she had written those lyrics when she was a 19-year-old woman living up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But it wasn't until now that she's performing, adding those in a performance. And, there's no greater stage in the African-American community than the Essence Festival. And she just let it roll to lots and lots of hooting and hollering and ovation and everything, which you could tell on the tape that I watched. Jill Scott, stepping out, stepping up. Leslie Van Houten. This is a former follower of Charles Manson, cult. She's now been released on parole after serving more than 5 decades of a life sentence for 2 brutal murders. She's 73 years old now, was a 19-year-old member of the Manson family when she took part in the murder of a Los Angeles grocer and his wife in 1969. 53 years incarcerated on a life sentence. California governors had stood in the way for many, many years, including the current governor, but recently this year they had a change of heart. Consumer Price Index figures released Wednesday morning showed airfares down 19% in June from last year. Car rental rates down 12% for their 5th consecutive month of declines. Now, food away from home, which includes restaurant meals, continued to rise, though. The category's annual growth rate of 7.7% in June slowed from 8.7% in March. The downtrend comes 1 year after inflation peaked at a 4-decade high of 9.1%. That's in June of 2022. Inflation rate today, 13 months later, 12 months later, however you want to look at that, it's gone down from 9.1 to 3% inflation. So it appears that these policies have been impacted by the Federal Reserve and the administration are working to bring this horrible inflation down. Last night, the National League won the All-Star game. They won by a score of 3-2. And that's the first time in 12 years that the National League has won. So congratulations, National League. And a story to tell you about an African-American tennis player by the name of Christopher Eubanks, 26 years old. This is a former Georgia Tech standout, 2-time All-American and ACC Player of the Year. Ranked about 85th. Now, that's going to change here soon, but ranked about 85th in the world in men's tennis. And just moments ago, we got the sad news that he went down in 5 sets in the quarterfinals. Went down in 5 sets to Daniil Medvedev, a Russian player who won. And again, this is the Wimbledon quarters now. Medvedev won the first set. Eubanks came back and won the next 2 sets in a row. And then Medvedev won that critical 4th set in a tiebreaker, a 7-4, 7-4. It's the first 1 to 7 points in the tiebreaker. So they were tied up 6 games each, and Medvedev won the tiebreaker 7-4, and then went on to win the final set 6-1. So Christopher Eubanks is definitely going to be heading up in the overall rankings. He's really, and he loves playing on grass. They don't have a ton of grass tournaments, but Wimbledon's certainly the big one. Shout out to Christopher Eubanks. My phone just rang. I wonder if that's him calling. No, maybe not. Historic flooding from torrential rain up in the Northeast. More than 100 different helicopter and boat rescues in the state of Vermont, and in the capital city, a place called Montpelier, Vermont. They're literally riding boats down the main streets in the capital city, according to NBC News' Kristen Dahlgren. There's more details on the devastation. There is sign that the floodwaters are starting to recede a little bit, but phenomenal, incalculable damage up there now. These natural disasters. Shifting out to Iowa. Iowa Republicans last night passed a new 6-week abortion ban. Passage kept a marathon one-day special legislative session. Isn't that interesting? So their governor called a special legislative session, and they worked all day, and they decided to pass this 6-week abortion ban. The measure now goes to the governor for her signature. Female Republican governor. Kim Reynolds, her name. Boppy Newborn Lounger. Boppy Newborn Lounger. The padded, pillowy lounger sold to exhausted caregivers who rely on it as a safe place to put their infants has been linked to the death of 8 babies. That's according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. The federal agency announced a recall of more than 3 million of those loungers, which have been a mainstay of baby registries for many years now. Got to get that product out of people's hands. There's something that's not right there. City of Tempe, apparently it's pronounced Tempe, Arizona, has been installing new street signs. You know, somebody figured out that so many of the street signs out there in Tempe bore the name of Klan members, KKK members. And so they've been changing street signs. And last Friday, it appears that the job was complete. Installed a new Romeo Jones street sign, marking the official change, what it had been linked to a KKK street name previously. Romeo Jones was, and his wife, Joaquina Jones, husband and wife pioneers, had fought and won in court for their children to be able to attend school with white children. There was the resistance to integration and all, and so the last one, they changed many of them, and the last one they brought in the cameras and all, let people see that they got rid of that. So no more Klan member named streets in Tempe, Arizona. How about that? And now we shift our focus back for just a few stories on the worldwide level. Talk about NATO a little bit, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NATO, they're having a meeting over there now. NATO states have said, this is in Vilnius, Lithuania. The NATO members are meeting. States have said that Ukraine can join the military allowance when the allies agree and conditions are met. President Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has really criticized NATO for holding up their membership. So apparently they have some, it's not the time to join it, apparently, and according to their conditions, when you're in the middle of a conflict. So he called the delay absurd. He's now there in the Lithuanian capital of Vilnius, where this summit, NATO summit, is happening. NATO was founded in 1949. There were 12 founding member countries. They are Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, and the United Kingdom and the United States. Recently, just now, as of right now, Sweden and Finland are coming in, and that's going to bring the total membership up to 32 nations, with a clear path for Ukraine on the horizon. So just a little bit about NATO and how it's expanding. You have a country like Russia that invades the Ukraine, wants to call it a training exercise, but they're at war, they're killing people, and so if Ukraine was a NATO country, Russia would be up against much more than just Ukraine. They'd be up against the resources of 32 different nations. Hackers in China recently broke into the email accounts of around 25 organizations, including multiple United States government agencies. That's according to Microsoft. We'll be hearing more on that. That's, new information. Also with China. China's Air Force and Navy, remember I telling you about this NATO summit in Lithuania? In conjunction with that NATO summit, China's Air Force and Navy staged a second day of a large-scale exercises with fighter jets, bombers, and warships to the south of Taiwan and southwest on Wednesday. The island's defense ministry reported, and Beijing keeps up its military pressure. So when you have these 32 nations gathering to talk about their mutual defense and all, China decides to stage, military exercises. And I think the last story on the list for today is about Elton John. 50 years on the road. 50 years on the road as a performer. Elton John officially bid farewell on his touring career. He says he's still going to make music. He's still going to write and play music, but no longer touring. So this was on July 8th, just 3 days ago. The 76-year-old music icon completed his farewell Yellow Brick Road tour, performing hits like Benny and the Jets, Tiny Dancer, Your Song, etc., etc. Had a 23-song set. Wow. The tour began on September 10th in 2018, his farewell tour, but was halted due to COVID. So, traveling all across North America, Europe, Australia, concluded in Stockholm, Sweden, at the Tele2 Arena in front of thousands of fans. And the last song that he sang, of course, on the tour was Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I don't know about you, but I got a little room, and I have my top 9. People got a top 10 list on everything. I got a top 9, my top 9 musical people that I've meant the most to me and been influenced the most in my life, and Elton John is one of those 9 people. So how about that for a little fun fact? So hope you take good care of yourself. Hope you picked up a little something useful on this news break. We'll be back Friday at noontime. Take good care of yourselves in this heat, and those around you, we look forward to seeing you on Friday. Take good care.